We got parts. Good morning, good afternoon, good whatever time of day it is for you guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is pretty exciting because I think we're gonna get the Subaru running again. But before we get this started, I gotta show you guys some of these new parts. This is the first part in the mix. I already have it sitting on there because I wanted to see what it looked like, but I got this new vibrant air filter, and honestly the only reason I got it was because the old one was rubbing up on my hood, and you guys aren't gonna be able to see it because I already touched it up with some black touch-up paint, but it was rubbing the paint right off my hood. So now we got this little baby one. I didn't like running the big intake pipe down into the fender because honestly my turbo just didn't make the stu-tu-tu noises, and I wanted to make the stu-tu-tu noises, so now we got a little baby filter on there. Now let's get to the parts on the table. First thing we should get out of the way on the table, and this is the big one because this was our problem. iWire sent us out a new injector plug with wires already pre-installed, and then I was cheap. I was gonna build my own ethanol kit, so I ordered a male end TGV plug, but now I don't really need this. That was kind of a waste of money, but I got it if I ever need one. Then they always send you out this little thank you letter. It says thank you, Daniel. Next thing we got, and this is a big one. We're just starting with both the problems we had first. This is my clutch fork pin plug thing that was missing. So now hopefully we won't have any clutch issues. I'm gonna make sure to put some Loctite on this and actually tighten it this time. Then we got some TGV to intake manifold gaskets, OEM from Subaru, some TGV to engine gaskets, and then we got our TGVs that Radium finally sent us because I had to warranty the old ones. And I actually like these ones better because they have a black block on the top rather than the green one, because nothing in my engine bay is green. So that's sick. Then Radium also sends out 2 gaskets with their TGVs. So we should be good for gaskets. Then in these bags, we got some fuel system stuff. So I bought some new high pressure -6 fuel line. This is probably about 5 feet of fuel line. It should be all I need. Next, I got some -6 AN push lock fittings. They're both 90 degree. And then the other 2 fittings I got are 8 AN ORB, 2 -6 AN fittings for the back of my rails. This is already turning into a mess. What do we got next? Oh yeah, I showed this in my video where we got the RPF ones for the Civic. For those of you that commented, we're finally doing this. I got an actual PCV line. It's 5/8. This will be for the oil drain off my turbo, so I gotta pull that off again. And we're not gonna use this blue line because it's ugly. Then we also got some fittings to make my boost sensor actually read vacuum and boost off of my intake manifold. Next thing in this bag over here, I gotta change the oil on this thing, so we got some Motul 540. This is what I like to use in this thing. I also have 5 thou oversized mainline bearings. Running a little bit thicker oil helps make up for some bigger clearances. And then we got a new oil filter and a drain plug gasket. I always use Subaru OEM oil filters because honestly they're cheap, and why not have OEM quality on your shit? So yeah, that's everything. Let's start putting this thing back together. I want to get this out of the way right away though. I finally got my little Allen key here for the clutch pin plug. So I'm going to get some Loctite on this bad boy, and we're going to get this back in the car so I can get the starter back in. Let's get some Loctite on this thing just because last time didn't go so well. This time I actually have the Allen key to make sure it's tight. I got to get a better angle on this, make sure she's real tight. Okay, that better not come out now. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, it is that plug right down there. Just left the chat at the track one day. It just fell out. No idea where it went, but we got a new one now. Now let's get starter back in. Starter's in, starter wire's connected, and the little ground wire's connected. Everything in that area is buttoned up. Now the next thing I want to do before I fix that injector wire harness and I fix the oil drain line on my turbo is, if you guys have been watching the videos, you guys would know that I cut my one coolant hose wrong. And by coolant hose, I mean the bracket that used to support the old coolant hose that I deleted because I did the expansion tank delete. So this little line right there is not very supported anymore because I cut it. So I gotta weld that back on. So I got both my crossover PCV lines taken off here. Now I just gotta unbolt the 2 bolts on the coolant crossover, one there and the one on this side, if you guys can see it right behind right there. And then I gotta take that thing over to the other shop so I can do a little tack weld on it and make sure it's 100% secure. All right, sick. We got our bracket made. I gotta lay a layer of paint down on that just so that she doesn't rust. But I already mocked it up and double checked and made sure it all fits. So now I'm just gonna spray this, and then while that's drying, we'll start putting some other stuff back together. All right, there we go. She's all sprayed. Doesn't look the prettiest, but it's all covered anyways. I just wanted to make sure that it doesn't rust. So I'm gonna set this on the ground in the sun here a little bit to dry, and let's keep fixing shit. Nice. Next thing I'm gonna do, and I've done this a million times on camera, so I'm just gonna time lapse through getting this drain hose swapped out, and I'm kind of happy about this because now we're not gonna have any leaks. All right, oil drain hose is all swapped out. Here's the old one, all soft, just some garbage heater hose that would have leaked again for sure. And it's very hard to show down there, but I got the new one in. It's got the heat wrap on it too, because it's right next to the downpipe. Now that we got that on, we got the clutch pin plug in and the starter. Now I want to start doing some fuel system stuff. So first thing I want to do is I want to get the fuel rails and the injectors back together on these new Radium TGV deletes. And then I went ahead and cleaned up all the surface on my 8mm phenolic spacers. And I think we're going to try and run these again. Hopefully it doesn't crack the radium housings. But the reason that I don't really like these that much is because we did a boost leak test when I was on the dyno, and these actually leaked through this surface of the spacer. Like, you can kind of see where the phenolic spacer is all pressed together. And we actually found it at 25 to 30 PSI on a boost leak test. It would leak through this actual surface right here. But I don't know. I do want to keep my intake temps down, and I like the space that these give you under the manifold. That extra 8mm actually helps a lot. So I got these cleaned up. We got these fresh new TGVs. We got some fresh new gaskets. Two of the ones I'm going to be using are the ones that came with the Radium kit, and two factory ones. I already looked. They're the same thickness. And we're going to be putting one on one side of the spacer and one on the other side of the spacer, putting the TGVs on top and then torquing it up. Again, if you guys want to know how to do this stuff, I already have a very, very in-depth video on how to install these. So I'll put a link to that up top, and let's start getting this thing together. Yeah, I get to use my new tool. I love new tools. Use my AN wrench to get these fittings snugged up on here. Well, that is unfortunate. I probably need new O-rings for those. Yeah, damn. Get both of these pulled off. I could see the O-ring like sticking out, so I wanted to double check and make sure the O-ring wasn't all messed up, and she's messed up. Oh, wow. Oh, this one's coming off all right. I think I'm going to replace both of them just to be safe. Yeah, I'm sure I got O-rings kicking around here somewhere. I can throw in those. Okay, so I went and grabbed two new O-rings that are the same size. They should work, hopefully. Let's get these sauced onto the end caps here. Like a glove. Yeah, they fit perfect. Nice. Okay, let's get these oiled up and tossed back on the rail. Give her the lube. Make sure these tighten up nice first without destroying the O-ring. Oh, that's perfect. Doesn't squish them at all. Both fuel rails are completely assembled. We got the 8AN ORB to -6AN fitting on this side, and then we got the block off plug on this side again, and then same thing on this one. Now, when we get it in the car, we're gonna get these 90-degree -6AN push lock fittings threaded onto the straight fitting there, and then we're gonna have one hose going directly to the regulator. Same as our old setup. Now, just to explain to you guys real quick why we're going with the same setup that I had before, and don't worry, she's still gonna go on E85, but I'm doing this more for me, kind of as like an experiment, because we had the misfire before with this fuel system and with that freight injector wire. Now I'm gonna fix that injector wire, but I wanna make sure that the misfire wasn't the fuel system for all of you guys that are running this Radium Parallel fuel kit. So let's get these TGVs set up with the 8mm spacers onto the engine. We'll get two gaskets on each side of the spacer and get them torqued up. Inside bolts, all of these are torqued to 18.4 foot-pounds. You guys heard the man, 18.4 foot-pounds. I left my torque wrench at work, so I can't torque these right now. But since I don't have my torque wrench, let's get that PCV crossover pipe that I painted and welded that bracket back on. One thing I do want to show on my mess of a table here again, these were my crossover PCV vent hoses that I ran to each valve cover. And as you can see, since there's oil going through these, they got all soft and they were actually sweating a little bit of oil. So I'm not going to put these on today. I'm gonna run to the hardware store again, and I'm gonna pick up some more of this 5/8 actual PCV hose. It's a little bit tougher sidewalled, and it doesn't get all soft when hot oil's running through it. So let's just get this hard pipe back on and make sure my bracket fits. Let's get our bolts. Where are my bolts? Oh yeah, I left them up here. I seriously lose stuff in like 30 seconds. There we go. Now we have a bracket that's actually sturdy. Get our little hose crimp back on. These are always fun to put on. Son of a... Oh, these suck, dude. Hey, there we go. She's on. Now we can run my pulse damper vacuum line through this little pipe that I cut out here just like I did before. That's a clean install, boy. So this is my old fuel line and it's not gonna work anymore because I put that 8AN ORB to -6AN adapter on the back of the rails. The way this fuel line is built with the Radium kit is set up to work with these little Radium 90-degree adapter fittings. And to be honest, I didn't really like the way that these fittings sat. They were a little bit too close to the TGV. So that's why I decided to go with a straight adapter fitting. And then this 90-degree fitting is gonna have way more clearance around that TGV delete. I just reinstalled my old fuel lines the way they were just to the regulator with these like 120-degree fittings. And before I routed this fuel line that goes to cylinder 1 and 3, down here it came around the front, followed the wire harness, and then came back to that TGV. But I don't want to do that this time. And I found a much cleaner way to route this. I'm gonna go down, it's gonna go under the wiring harness, under the coolant line, stay nice and tucked down low there, under this coolant hose that goes up to your throttle body, and then it's just gonna go straight to the 90-degree fitting, which sits on the back of the rail there. Then this fuel line here is just gonna go straight to the 90-degree fitting off the back of this rail, which actually makes this pretty easy because now, technically, I didn't even need to buy that fuel line, which is sick. We're just wasting more money. I'll probably use it for the Civic build or something, I don't know. I'll keep it around here just in case. So basically what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna leave these fittings both connected to the line on the regulator, and then I'm just gonna cut this hose to length where I need it for the 90-degree fitting, and then I'm gonna cut this hose to length over here where I would need it for another 90-degree fitting there. So let's get those 90-degree push lock fittings installed onto the lines, and then we'll see what it looks like in the end. I got the fuel system mostly buttoned up, but there's a couple things that are sussing me out, and I'll show you guys what I mean. So the way I have this set up is actually 10 times cleaner than it was the first time. We have this 90-degree AN push lock fitting, which gives way more clearance on my TGV. Before it was literally rubbing on the TGV with that little 45-degree fitting. So this is perfect. I got it running under the one coolant line there, kind of under the PCV lines, under all the wire harnesses, comes right up to here. Lots of slack in the line just for vibration and stuff like that. You want a little bit of slack in the line. And this one is the one that's sussing me out. So this line right here is pretty tight. Like there is like zero slack in that line. And that kind of sketches me out a bit. I want a little bit of slack in that line for sure. I might run it like that just to get it running, but I'm definitely gonna get some more fuel line and cut it to length and get a little bit more slack in that. And I have some more fuel line, but I think I'm just gonna prime the system here just to make sure that everything works and I don't got no leaks. Because this is the other fuel line I have up top here, and I had to tighten the absolute piss out of that hose clamp in order to get it to clamp onto that fitting on the back of the regulator, because this fuel line here is a little bit bigger than the Radium line. So it fits good on the push locks, but not really on that fitting. So I'm gonna hook my battery up. I'm just gonna go turn the key a couple times, and hopefully these fuel lines don't leak just so we can get it started. But there's some sketchy stuff going on there, and I definitely wanna fix it to make it 100% good. So let's turn the key and see what happens. All right, I don't wanna mess. Just don't piss fuel everywhere. That fuel pressure's dropping like crazy. Where's the leak? End cap O-rings are sealed and fittings aren't leaking, and neither are the push locks. None of these are leaking. That line's not leaking, neither is the return line. Where the hell are we losing fuel pressure? What the dick? What are we at for fuel pressure now? Like 20 PSI? Maybe? Yeah, it's at like 20 and it's still going down. I think it's my damn fuel pump, because I was having this issue before too. Huh. I think the double O-ring on that AEM fuel pump is leaking back into the tank. Because I was having this issue on the dyno too, that I was losing fuel pressure, but I had no leaks. And I actually wasn't losing fuel pressure before I double O-ring that fuel pump. And everybody was telling me, gotta double O-ring the AEM pump. So I was all sketched out by it. I pulled out the pump and I double O-ringed it. And ever since I double O-ringed it, I've been losing fuel pressure like that. It's a little sus. So I might have to pull that fuel pump out, or I might just leave it for now until I pull the pumps out and put the Radium dual hanger and 2 Walbro 450s in there, because then the double O-ring's not gonna matter. I don't know, we'll see. But for now, we have no leaks in the engine bay, which is good. So honestly, just to make this engine bay look a little bit more complete, I'm gonna get the intake manifold on there. Literally all I have attached to my manifold, which makes working on this car so freaking easy. There's 2 bolts on my wire harness, 1 mount there and 1 mount there, that bolt to the bottom of my intake manifold on that mount, and the one in the middle right there. Before I go to put this intake manifold on though, I do want to show you guys something that I'm doing with my boost sensor here, and I hope this works. If you guys watched my previous videos, you saw when I went to the parts store and I got these adapter fittings because I wanted to mount this boost sensor directly to my manifold, and that's not going to work, because if I thread this adapter fitting into the manifold here and I want to thread this boost gauge in there, it's not going to work because it hits the throttle body, so there's not enough clearance there, which I figured would happen, but I bought it while I was at the store anyways. I'll probably use it for something eventually. But what I did get when I was there was a 1/4 NPT to vacuum fitting, which will thread into my intake manifold right on the bottom here. And the reason I need this is because I'm actually out of factory vacuum ports on this manifold, because I shaved the whole top of the manifold. I shaved the vacuum fitting off of the front, which usually sits right here, and I shaved pretty much all the mounts off the top of the manifold. When you install the IAG Competition Series AOS, which if you guys didn't catch that video, I'll put a link up top to that, you install this little plug just to block that off in the bottom of the manifold. So I figured, why block it off? That is a useful port. I'm just gonna get some Teflon tape onto this fitting here, just so that it seals up nice and I don't get any boost leaks or vacuum leaks or anything like that. I'm gonna get this threaded into the manifold here, and we're just gonna tighten this up. You don't gotta bottom it out, just as long as she's nice and tight on there. Is it gonna leak? That's good enough. Now we got another vacuum port to the manifold. The next thing I'm gonna do with my boost sensor is, this comes with your boost sensor when you buy it from AEM, and it just threads right onto the boost sensor just like that. So you can run basically a vacuum line straight from the boost sensor right to the manifold. Basically, that's the gist of it. It is gonna read manifold vacuum and boost based off a pressure differential inside of this sensor. Because I want the boost sensor not to leak either, I'm gonna get some Teflon tape on this as well, and then I'm gonna get this adapter fitting threaded onto the boost sensor. Now I got my boost sensor set up and I got my vacuum port on the manifold. Now I got a vacuum line on there, and now I'm just gonna take some brake clean on a clean rag, clean up our sealing surface on the intake manifold, and then we can get the intake manifold set on. I gotta get my 2 mounting bolts for the wiring harness bolted onto the intake manifold with these 2 bolts here, and then we can bolt it up to the TGVs with 2 fresh new OEM intake manifold to TGV gaskets. Mint. Look at me making progress and stuff. Beauty. All right, so I got that intake pipe tightened up to the manifold there. And now I want to show you guys what I'm doing with this boost sensor. So I got a vacuum line on the boost sensor itself, just a nice short vacuum line to this vacuum tee so that I can put a zip tie in the middle on the hard plastic piece, so I'm not squishing and pinching the vacuum line itself. So right here is my vacuum line that comes out from down on the bottom of the manifold. You can see it moving around down there. And I'm just gonna zip tie it down right where all my vacuum lines are for my boost controller. So I'm just gonna zip tie this boost gauge down onto the engine harness down there. It's gonna plug into my boost gauge harness that I have running into the firewall back there. And if you guys didn't see my AEM gauge install, I'll put a link up top to that right now too. So let's get this thing mounted up real quick and see what it looks like. All right, so I got it all mounted up, and honestly, that took way longer than I thought it was going to make it clean. But basically what I did was I mounted the boost sensor right onto the big bulkhead harness and just zip tied it right around where the fitting mounts. So it is a little bit shaky, but it's not gonna go anywhere. I'm not sure if I'm 100% set on the mounting location there. From a distance, it's nice and clean. You do see the brass still, but it's still pretty hidden under that power steering hose. So I'm happy with it. And with our sick new filter that actually fits perfect. I was a little bit scared it was gonna rub here. We got lots of clearance. You don't even really notice it that much. So that's dope. But damn, did we make some progress tonight. She's starting to look like an engine bay again. Oh, I can never get enough of that turbo. That thing's so sick. Maybe one day we'll have a bigger one. But honestly, I gotta work tomorrow. It's getting super late. It's already midnight and I gotta be up at 6. So I'm probably gonna call it a night here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys learned something, leave a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below if you have suggestions for stuff that you think I should do, or if you see me doing something wrong, because I'm probably doing lots of stuff wrong because I'm still learning. Yeah, that's gonna be it for this one. Peace out, you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.